goodness, so you can get the job. So it is very important, the title of the thesis and the quality of the thesis. So what is thesis? A thesis is an expanded essay that presents your own interpretation or evaluation or arguments. When you write a thesis, you use everything that you are personally know and have thought about a subject. So the paper is the a paper is also like thesis, but paper is the a small form, but thesis is the expanded form of like paper. And you do your own interpretation. Either your method of interpretation is different, methods of evaluation is different, your arguments is different. There's something new in your thesis. It is very important. There's something new in your thesis. So it is a long piece of writing on a particular topic. After the selection of topic, you are writing the long, or it is the expanded form of your ideas on these topics. So in the thesis is of two types. You can write the conceptual thesis or you can write the empirical thesis. Conceptual thesis is not based on the quantitative data, that is the qualitative research. Conceptual thesis, in the conceptual thesis we do our interpretation, we interpret this, we interpret the ideas, we interpret the previous ideas, and we interpret the ideas in your own words, just like the impact of the relevancy of Shakespeare. The subject is English, so I am giving example from English. The relevancy of Shakespeare in the present in the time of globalization, or improving the socio-economic condition of the people, you can do this. So in an empirical thesis, you use the data, and you make the, in the conceptual thesis, we make the, there is no need of hypothesis in the conceptual thesis, but you can make the research hypothesis, while in the empirical thesis, you can make the statistical hypothesis and you can test this thesis, empirical hypothesis. So, but in the conceptual thesis, our thought, our method of interpretation, our thinking, our evaluation, synthesis, that is the more important. While in the conceptual research, the data is more important in this data analysis. So your thesis, at least one thing should be new. Maybe the new idea, maybe the new methodology, maybe the new result, maybe the new method of interpretation, but it is very clear that something should be new in your thesis. So generally, what are the components of thesis? So first components, the topic of the research thesis. Yeah, okay, and then the guide, certificate, scholar a scholar declaration and preface, that is the important. And after that you write the abstract and then keywords. Then the main components are introduction. Introduction, you also write the contents, the serial of the contents. In this way you write the main components, that are the introduction. Chapter 1 you can give the name, second you can give literature review, third you can give the name research methodology, then the results and discussion, then the last chapter will be conclusion and suggestion. After that you write the bibliography or references. Then you can write the appendix, that is the supplementary of your thesis, so you can use this. So I am discussing one by one in the detail. So what is the abstract? Abstract is used by the readers. Abstract means that is the brief summary, brief synopsis of thesis. That is the brief summary of your thesis, and the abstract is used by the readers to quickly review the overall contents of the thesis. The readers read the abstract quickly to understand the overall about the thesis. It is the brief synopsis of the thesis, and abstract includes 4 parts in the abstract. You try to write objective of the thesis. While writing the abstract at the international standard, we should starting from the objective of the study, then methodology of the study, then findings of the study, and then policy implications. Policy implications means how your study is important for the society, for the academic world, for the research world, for the government, for the society, for the future researchers. Like this, how your research is useful, and that is called the policy implications. After that, I will write the keywords, pivotal words it is called, that is concerning to the your pivotal words of your thesis. We should use 8 to 10. 8 to 10, or you can use about 8 to 10 keywords. You can use this below the abstract. One thing is also important, abstract should be written in 600 to 1000 words. However, it depends on the guideline of the university. The university give the guidelines about the components of thesis, but generally this is the general format concerning to all the universities, but some differs in the format of the universities also. So generally you should write the abstract in 600 to 1000 words. Better will be 800, 1000 words will be better in my opinion. So now chapter 1. Chapter 1 includes general idea about the topic. So in this, what you will write? First you write chapter 1 name, suppose, then include this overview of the study, background of a study you can include, you can give the statement of the problem, you can write the significance of the study, how this study is significant for the society. If a study is not significant for the society, there is no meaning of this research. Therefore, this part is very, very important, and you also write the limitation of the study, that is also important in this part. So as per the rules of the UGC, the thesis should be significant for the society, but not this is the new. From the old time, it has been it has been accepted that your thesis should be useful for the society, and what is the result of the your thesis, that is used in the society also, and that should be beneficial for the society. So when writing the chapter 1, first write 1.1. Chapter 1 in the introduction, then write the 1.1 overview of the study, then try to write 1.2 background of the study, because you will understand about this. Then 1.3 a statement of the you should write. That is related to this. What tends you to a study about this topic, that is very important, that is called the statement of problem, and significance of a study, how this study will contribute to the society, contribute to the research, contribute to the innovation, contribute to all the stakeholders of society. You have to discuss in this. In spite of this, you have discussed about the limitation of a study. What are the main limitations of a study? What works you are not able to do this work? All those things we should discuss in this. Finally, it is very important that you have to focus why this study is important for society, academic, and research world. That is the very, very important in this part. Now the chapter 2. Now the chapter 2. So chapter 2 means chapter 2 is related to the literature review. So in the literature review means what works have been done by the previous researchers on this topic or related to this topic. This is called the literature review. Suppose that when you read the previous work of the another researchers concerning to this topic or on this topic, you will get more and more idea about these topics. You will study what tools they have used, how they have written, what is their method of writing, their language, how many pages, their methodology, their data, their finding, their methods of interpretation. She will get the idea, and then you will incorporate these ideas in your thesis. So by this point of view, literature review is important, and the purpose of this literature review is to describe past important research, and it relates it specifically to the research problem. So when you do the research literature review, you will find the research problem. The review should examine the major theories related to the topic, to the date, and their contributions. You will study this. So literature is also three types: conceptual literature you can read, theoretical literature, and applied literature. So while writing the chapter 2, you can make the four part of chapter 2: 2.1 conceptual literature, 2.2 theoretical literature, 2.3 applied literature, 2.4 research gap you can do in this part. So literature on the concept, literature on the methodology, literature on the result, you will write this. So it is the previous works related to the topic at the world level, country level, region level, and local level also. You should do this in this part. At least 50 to 60 literature you should include in your thesis. At least 50 to thesis. It depends on the guideline of university and how many pages they are allowing you to write the thesis university. So generally I think 100 to 150 to 200 pages thesis is good. However, some person write 400, 500 also. But in my opinion, 150 to 200. 200 is the optimum in my, but it depends on the topic also. On the basis of topic, you should select how many pages you should write. So at least 50 to 60 literature you should include, and focus on the recent literature. You should focus on the recent literature. Maybe within the 20 years you should focus, but some literature old also famous, and that is also required, so you can use this, but focus on the recent. And after that you can find the research gap. What works has been not done by the previous researchers concerning your topics. It may be related to the particular area, or may be related to the concept, methodology, results, methods of interpretation, the data, the time period, may be related to the place, gender, maybe any gap you can find, and you are going to fulfill this gap. But try to write in the past tense. The language of thesis should be present and past tense, not in the future tense. As per the needs, you can use the tense, but be careful on the tense. So after this literature review, you have to focus on the research questions and objective of the study. Research questions means what are the main questions your thesis is going to give the answer, and what is the objective of your thesis. You should focus on this. So well-defined objectives. Your objective should be well-defined. Your objective should be well-defined. What are your objective of the thesis? It should be well defined, and your objective should be matching on the topic of the study and matching to the research gap. It is a very, and concentration on your topic. Your topic should be related to the, your objective should be related to the topic, and don't include more objectives. Try to include 3 or 4 objective are maximum. In my opinion, some person write the general objective, a specific objective, 13, 14, 15 objectives. But I think that if you want to develop the quality thesis, it is better to write only 3 or 4 objectives, not include. Otherwise, you will be deviating. So don't include more objectives. Based on your objectives should be based on the research gap and research questions. Sometimes research gap is different, research objective is different, research question is different. So research gap, research question, research objective should be matching to one another. And on the basis of this, you can give the hypothesis. Hypothesis may be the research hypothesis or statistical hypothesis. A statistical hypothesis is proved by the data, so it is required to testing, while research hypothesis you can prove by your concept. So in the English, in the Hindi, Sanskrit, and another language, so we do the research hypothesis proving, but research hypothesis we prove this by concept, while in the statistical hypothesis we validate and prove this by the data, also quantitative data. So, what is the hypothesis? Hypothesis is tentative answer of research questions based on the literature. So, it is the tentative answer. So, there are two types of hypothesis: null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. In the null hypothesis is the hypothesis which is to be tested, while the null hypothesis it is the complementary of null hypothesis. If null hypothesis is not okay, then what will be? That is the that is the alternate hypothesis. So hypothesis is the tentative answer of research questions on the basis of the knowledge of your literature review. So while giving the hypothesis, in the process of test of hypothesis, we also fix the level of significance, that is the maximum possibility of the rejection of null hypothesis. Suppose that your level of significance is 5%, means 5% you have fear that your null hypothesis will be rejected, means 95% you are confident that your null hypothesis will be accepted. When your null hypothesis will not accepted, your alternate hypothesis will be accepted. When your null hypothesis is accepted, your alternate hypothesis is not accepted. But suppose that there is significant impact, there is no significant impact of demand on the price. There is no significant impact of price on the quantity demanded. So quantity demanded is the dependent variable while price is variable. So the alternate hypothesis will be there is significant impact of level of 1%, either the level of 10%, you can. If the statistical hypothesis, you have to test the hypothesis. If your research you have prepared the research hypothesis, then you can prove this by your concept. That is important. So the chapter 3 is important chapters. In this chapter, we write about the research methodology. In this chapter, we will tell that how you did the study, So you will discuss about the research design, that may be of three types. Exploratory means why. You will study on the why, that is based on the concept, that is the conceptual research design. It is used in the English and another literature. Conceptual is also important, very important. While descriptive research design is related to the what, you can calculate the value, you can use the descriptive statistics like the measures of central tendency, methods of dispersion, methods of skewness and kurtosis you apply. So you describe this. Why it tells about the what is the condition it will tells. While in the causal research means how much it studies about the impact of independent variable on dependent variables. So all you have to use the three methods also while doing. Mixed research design you can apply. So three methods all are important in this your research. So in the research methodology, you will discuss about the research area, because the readers will understand about the research area also, and you will discuss about the sampling and sample size, how much sample size you are taking. There are different formulas given to calculate the sample size. Sample size means sample is a small part of population which is drawn from the population. On the basis of this, you can interfere about the population. Population means the area under study, the area under investigation, that is also called the universe. So on the basis of population, on the basis of sample, you study about the population. You take the sample. If you increase the sample, the time of research will increase, the cost of research will increase. But if the sample size is more, there is chance of more accuracy in your research. And if your sample size is small, there is less chance of accuracy in your research. But when the data is the homogeneous, you can take the small sample. While the data is heterogeneous, then you can do the multi-sampling. First sample, divide the data in different parts, then divide the population in different parts, then take the sample from all the parts, You can do the classification of data in this process. So sampling means drawing the inferences about the population on the basis of sample drawn from it. So also discuss about this in this part. We will discuss about the data, what about the data. We will discuss primary data, secondary data, what type qualitative data, quantitative data, what type of data you will include in your study, and we will discuss about the data collection methods also, what methodology are used in the primary data and secondary data. What in the primary data, suppose you are using the questionnaire, interview, schedule, or direct observation, while in the secondary data you are using the books, journal, internet, and thesis and another sources, second-hand data. So time period of data will also give what time period you will study. So on this basis, you can use the time series data, you can use the cross-section data, you can use the panel data. While using the time series data means different time periods, you are collecting the data of one variable like the population of India in the different year, what has been the population of India. This is the time series data. Cross section data means at the present time, at a point of time, we are making the questionnaire and giving to the respondent, they are filling this and you are collecting this. On this basis you are doing the analysis. Cross section data is also called the survey data, and panel data is the combination of time series and cross section data. Suppose that you are doing the comparison of India, China, USA, Japan at the same at the different time period, different years, you are doing the comparison. So you are taking the data of investment, income, investment, savings, all the data you are taking. So you can do this, on the basis of panel data. One thing is also important in the time series data, the 30-year data is considered good, while in the cross section data is not, is the survey method, it is not very authentic, but all the methods have their own relevancy also. While in the panel data, the 10-year data is okay to do the study, but when you are not able to find the data, you can give that these are the limitation of data. So if the data is not more time, you can also do the study, but you have to give the justification in the data, justification in collection methodology, justification for the time period. So justification is very, very important. Sample size also, research area, everything, justification is very important. So statistical tools and data analysis, you are right that what statistical tools you are using and how we will analyze the data, and what research software you are using. Particularly, it is not important that only research software you can use in the business, economics, and social science. You can also use this in the English also, you can use the research software. In my opinion, because what is the every poem in the English novel, every poem, I think that is the hypothesis. So you can test this, the relevancy in the present time. In the Hindi also, every doha of Hindi is also the hypothesis. So it is required to test. It is required to test its relevancy at the present time. That is the very, very important. So you can use the research software, no problem. Models, formulation, what models you are formulating, and description of the variables, linear model, non-linear model, alpha, beta, gamma, binary, when the dependent variable may be qualitative divided in two parts, yes, no. You can use the binary, logit model, probit model, tobit model. Multipolarity, sometimes maybe independent variable may be related to each other. So you can study the multipolarity, heteroscedasticity. The heteroscedasticity means the data is not homogeneous. The variation is different. So it is the heteroscedasticity. Model stability, you can check. You can select the model, and but one thing is also important, the justification is very important in all the subjects. What variables you are choosing, data you are choosing, model you are choosing, time period you are choosing, sampling choosing, what methodology of interpretation you are choosing, the justification is very, very important in this research. Model selection and justification. One thing also important, limitation of the study. That is also useful in the English also. Useful, you make the research design properly, research area description, you can take the sample or you can do the, you can test the research hypothesis by the concept. But how we will do this study, that is the very important. So you should focus on this. After that, results and discussion, the next chapter 4 is that. One thing is also that in the chapter 3, you can write the 3.1, 3.1 general research design, 3.2 research area, 3.3 sampling and sample size, 3.4 data, 3.5 like the statistical data analysis, 3.6 in this you can use the model, and 3.6 you can use the limitation of the study. So you can also do this. How far as it is concerned to the result and analysis, so in this the next parts, results and discussion. So in the results and discussion, the 4.1 is results and 4.1 is results. Okay, so 4.1 you can have in the results and discussion, you can use the table number also. So the table number 4.1, table number 4.2, table number 4.3. In the same way, you can give the diagram number or figure number 4.1, 4.2. You give the numbering, and you make the model also. After the calculated value from the table, you can make the model, put the value in the table estimation value, and give the model number 4.1, 4.2, and you write the discussion is related to the interpretation of the results. Result will become in the table diagram. Sometimes result is also the thesis also. You can concept your interpretation, that should be new. So discussion about the different values, understanding the data, information, knowledge, wisdom, and decision also. So finally, you can tell about here acceptance and rejection of the hypothesis with the help of table, diagram, and model number you will give in this part. The hypothesis should be answered and validated by the interpretation of the result. Your hypothesis should be validated by the interpretation of the result also. That is the very important of this parts. Finally, you do the systematic and scientific. One thing also important in this part, you will organize according to the objective of the study. You will organize the contents of this chapter very systematic and scientifically. That is also very important while results and discussion. So after that, you can write the conclusion and suggestion. So conclusion, you can write 5.1. Chapter is 5. So 5.1 conclusion, 5.2 suggestion, and 5.3 policy implications, and 5.4 is scope for the future research. You will give the direction to the future researchers that what works you are not able to doing here. So on what topic, on what works they can work in the future. So you can also suggest them for this. This is also very important, and this part is also very important. So after that, you can give the bibliography. The research paper is not complete, the thesis is not complete without the list of references. This section should be an alphabetical list. Common format is APA and MLA, Harvard, and so forth. So according for the guideline of the university, you can write this. But one thing important, what is the need of this bibliography? The sources of the material. It tells about the from what are the sources of your material of thesis, and authenticity of reviews. You are giving the literature review this name, so that is authentic or not, you can give the review. And APA format is more preferable in India, and matching to the literature, it should be matching to the literature. Sometime you can give the bibliography not given in the literature. Sometime in the literature you have used the name cited but not find in the bibliography. So you should match this. Minimum 60 from journals, books, and newspaper you should use. You can use the 60-70, not the clear rule. but university by university they give also their rules, their methodology also. So according to the guideline of university we can work this is a general. So I am given some example how to write the references. It has already given. Better you can see the thesis and good research papers how it has been given, so you can prepare this. After that, the appendix, that is the complementary to the main body. In the appendix, if the table, big diagrams and questionnaires, you can use in this part. In the appendices, you should use this is the better, so that if want to understand this, they can understand. So now important is that plagiarism and number of pages. Plagiarism up to 15% is okay, but all the plagiarism should not be at the same part, at the same place. It should be scattered, not on the same place. All the plagiarism should be. Suppose your plagiarism is 5% and all is on the same places. It is not good. It should be spread. Some university offers only the plagiarism 10% also. So language, your language should be a standard language, own words, medium side language, focus not big language and not very small sentences. Focus on the medium size sentences. Language should be standard, written in your own words, and use of technical words try to use more. That will be more appealing. That will more appeal. The number of how far it concerned to the number of pages, it depends on the university guidelines also. But generally, in my opinion, don't write big thesis, more pages. In PhD thesis, 150 to 200 pages. MPhil 90 to 150, and PG thesis should be 60 to 90 pages, and UG thesis should be 40 to 60 pages, in my opinion. But you can increase or decrease the pages. It is also very important. But one thing also important, that suppose that introduction, literature review, methodology, result discussion and finding. So you think that before writing the thesis, you think that introduction I will write in this much pages. Literature review this much pages. Generally introduction should be written 30 pages in my opinion. Less than 30, not more than 30, maybe 2 pages more or less. 30 pages is good for the introduction. And for the literature review should be written in 50 to 55 pages. 50 to 55 pages. And methodology should maximum written in 5 to 6 pages. 5 to 6 or 10 pages. 5 to 8 pages methodology. Results and discussion should be about 50 page also. 50 page also, write the results. And findings should be written. Conclusion and suggestion should be written in maximum 15 page. So in my opinion, I am saying that introduction should be written about 30 page, literature review 50 page, methodology should be written at 8 page, 6 to 8 page, results and discussion should be written about 50 to 55 page, 50 to 60 page, and conclusion should be written about 10 to 15 page, in my opinion. And then your bibliography should be about 5 to 6 pages. And then after the bibliography, if you have the complementary questionnaire, you should include big data, include table, include, and after that you have to include your 2 research paper published in the UGC peer list, UGC recognized journals, maybe 2 research paper and 2 conference participation also include with your thesis. As per the rules of the university, that is the importance, what the university is saying. So I think this will be better, but not the, you can increase or decrease the page according to your guide and the rules of the university also. So so try to meet your guide again and again. And so after thesis submission, it will go for the evaluation. And before the thesis submission, you give the presentation in the department. And when it will be okay, then you can submit the thesis, then go for the evaluation, submission for the evaluation. Evaluators or examiners report. When the go to the evaluators, they will give the report They can comment on the topic of thesis, relevance, significance of topic, objective of thesis, concerning to the hypothesis, methodology, data tools, models, referencing, originality of thesis, language and organization of thesis, number of pages, layout and place of subtopics according to the significance. The reviewer will give the report that your data is not good, your time period not good, variable is not selected properly, model is not good, interpretation method is not good. They can tell about this. They can tell it is not organized properly, the number of pages are more, the grammatical mistake, they can the layout of the thesis, they can do the many comments. This is not significant.
Sir?
In the foreign, at the time of interview, the topic is also changed at the time of interview. But in the case of India, the topic of the thesis is not changed, but internal part is changed. So they can give their report. The reviewer decision will be accepted or rejected. If it is accepted, then had three parts. On he accepted without revision, accepted by same, this is okay, it will give the report. They can accept the thesis with the minor modification. If the reviewer write the minor modification, then you will write according to this, and at the time of interview they will be in the case of foreign university, your guide is the okay. If there is minor modification, your guide will make you. And if they write the major modification, then it is again you will improve this with the help of your guide, and it will send to the thesis evaluator again if the major modification. And if the minor modification, it will be corrected at the level of your guide. So it will be accepted finally, then it will work according to the examiner's comments or interest, and then you submit the final also, or revised thesis you have to submit also. But India, most of the university, we have seen that they give the comment either accept or reject. If they accept this, they wrote the report. There is format of the report differs by university and university. But in this report, they generally look that analysis, what about introduction, literature review, discussion, methodology, analysis, all parts, conclusion, suggestion, language. So they give, this is the good, this is the new things. They write the report, then organize the viva, and the scholar give the presentation. One examiner come, external examiner. In India, one external examiner and open viva. But in the case of foreign, one will be internal examiner, one will be external examiner, one will be chairman. They all give the comment and they write the report. They give to the university. So on the basis of this recommendation, it goes to the university concerned authority, sent to the vice chancellor, and the vice chancellor give the order. And by the order of the honorable vice chancellor, they announce the notice that you are pass or fail, and then after that you get your certificate. Okay. So thank you so much, the organizing committee. If any questions, then you can tell.
So thank you very much, sir. Exactly 3 o'clock. So it's awesome, sir. Fantastic, brief, to the point. Almost you have covered everything, sir. They have learned as to how to write, what are all the matrix of research, and we are indebted actually to you, sir. And the participants, now the question and answer session starts. So if you have any question, you can ask.
Madam, this is Atelier from Hero. Manoj Kumar sir, Mishra sir, it was really wonderful. But me being speaking not on a yearly basis, but fiction.
Is there any question from participants?
I think I'm on the floor, madam.
Yeah, ma'am. Kalyani, ma'am.
Sakalya.
Kirti Diwari, ma'am. Yeah. Kalya, ma'am. You can ask.
Yes,
Yeah, please, ma'am.
I wanted to ask a question, ma'am.
Please, ma'am. Ask.
Sir, you were discussing bibliography. I just wanted to know that for writing a doctoral thesis, we are at present using the term works consulted, which includes work cited as well as works that are consulted. And previously, there used to be work cited after every chapter, but now we are having only one list of works consulted at the end, so that it doesn't disturbs the reading flow. Is it correct, sir?
Yes, so what you have cited in any parts of your thesis, you have to write in the bibliography. In the references, it is must to write this. And sometimes you are using the calculation by your own data, then the below the table or below the diagram, you can write the source it has been calculated or estimated, you can write. But if you have taken any figure, any table from any another books or diagram, you have to write in the references. That is very, very important. And any person's, any scholar's name you have cited in your thesis, you have to write in the bibliography. That is very, very important. Sometimes we have seen that every page, below the every page, it is had drawn the line footnotes. So if any things you are using at the footnotes, that page is for the footnotes. In each and every pages, you can use the footnotes also, or at the end of the each chapters, you can use the footnotes, but your references should be after your conclusion. But university also give the guidelines. You have to follow the guidelines of university. They have given the format of thesis. So try to follow the guidelines format of the thesis. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Agalya, ma'am. Is there any question from anyone else? Participants, you can ask your questions.
One person has written about the
Actually, I didn't ask the
review. In the systematic literature review, I think that in the literature review, you divide this chapter in different parts. Suppose literature review is chapter 2, then 2.1, conceptual literature, 2.2, theoretical literature, 2.3, applied literature. In the 2.3 parts, try to write the literature at the world level, then country level, then state level, then local level. Don't try to mix all. So try to focus on this, that is the important. And after that, 2.4, you can give the research gap. So it will be better to understand, but don't mix it. World level literature, continent level literature, and local level literature, don't mix it. So write the systematically, it will be better to understand the problem at the world level, continent level, country level. So it will be better, and the region level. So it will be better. Give the systematically the name of the researcher, and in the bracket the year when it is found. So it will be easy. The citation will be easy to describe in your bibliography and the references. Yes. One thing is very clear, you are making the thesis, and thesis maybe don't rush to submission of the thesis fast. Don't think to submit the thesis fast, maybe 2 months, 4 months late, but make very systematic, because when you go for the interview of assistant professor, if he will not bring the thesis, it will be your drawback. They will ask your thesis at the time of interview. They will raise the questions also. Some interview, I have also been invited as the interviewer for the assistant professor. Some universities has invited me in the associate professor professor and professor also, but I have gone there. Some assistant professor have not brought their thesis, so it was not very interesting. It was not very good, and we told them to bring your thesis, so that they ask the questions from your thesis. They ask the questions from your thesis, and it is good for you. If the examiner will ask the question from your thesis, it will good for you. Then you can give the answer. If you have written the thesis yourself, because you have the good idea about your thesis, so it will be good. So try to develop the quality thesis. If your thesis is good, the examiner will be happy in the recruitment also. By seeing the thesis, they will ask the questions. So they will be happy. Generally, in the interview time, they ask the questions: why you have chosen this topic? What is your model? What is your data? Why not data this? Why this time period? What is your methodology? What are your model? Why have you chosen this model? What are your variables? Why not this variable? Why you have not included this variable? What is your result? What is your need? What is the need in your thesis? What work you have done on this thesis? How many papers you have written concerning your thesis? So they can ask many type of questions at the time of your interview after your presentation. In the interview, you give the presentation, a PhD presentation, your department, your college, university, your friend, an examiner will be there. So after giving your presentation should be brief. Sometimes you have seen that the presentation material they have taken from the thesis, wrote in the language, many sentences wrote, that is not good. So try to write the main points, and if you have written the thesis, you have the capacity to speak on this. Suppose that you have written the thesis and someone is asking what is the title of your thesis, then you are saying title related to the Shakespeare, but you are not speaking the exact title. What is this? What is the objective of your thesis? You are not able to tell what is my objective. Then this is a big problem in the interview. So title of thesis, objective of thesis, methodology, everything. You should read your thesis 3 times, 4 times. Suppose that you have taken the help of another person, suppose maybe like this, I think, but you should reach each and everything what you have written in your thesis. They can ask anything concerning to your thesis, and if they ask the question related to your thesis and you are not knowing this, what is the meaning of this? You have written this thesis, so this may be they arise the problem for you. So write this very systematically and scientifically. Okay, and read your thesis again and again. After completing the research, also read your thesis. It will give you more idea for the interview for the post of assistant professor, or you have the eligibility applied for the associate also. But particularly in the interview of assistant professor, you have to bring the thesis, must. Yes.
Is there any other question from the participants? So you can ask. Participants, is there any question? If there is no question, we can wind up the session. Yes, sir, I think that everything is clear. So thank you very much, sir.
Hello,
It was
may I
mind
ask a
blowing.
question?
Yes, please, ma'am. Bhavna,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah, in systematic reviews, sir, how we can perform the risk of bias assessment?
What?
Sir, in systematic review, how we can perform the risk of bias assessment?
No, risks of bias. The problem is that when you take the literature from the authentic sources, understand? If you are not taking your source is not authentic, it will be problem. So your source may be authentic. As far as it concerned to the biasness, suppose a person has written his paper in a very good journal, understand? And if the researcher is already biased, then you are taking this, your research will be already biased. But generally it is considered that your source of the data is authentic, there is less chance of biasness. I'm not saying that what in the social science and humanities, your result, what will be your research, I'm not saying that it will be 100% true. There is always a scope of improvement, always a scope of improvement. Suppose you are a researcher, your interpretation method is your, maybe you biased, maybe you're biased, all persons are not honest. So maybe chance of biasness, but while writing the thesis, we think that you should collect the data from the authentic sources. That is, so what is the need of bibliography? Bibliography is need because what you are giving the citation, that is authentic. You give the source from which sources you have taken. So any person, if he thinks that it is not biased, it is any problem, it is fake citation, then he or she can test there. But the researcher can also be biased. So as a researcher, you think that you are doing the research for the society and your work should not be biased. So you try to minimize the biasness. Minimize the biasness in the social science and in the humanities. We cannot do the 100% exact. No chance of 100% exact. Why we take the level of significance? Level of significance, why we take the 5%, 1%, means you have 5% fear, but 95% applicable. Suppose a doctor is going to do the surgery of a patient, okay? A stomach surgery. And here the level of significance is 1%. 1% chance that the surgery will not be successful. Doctor is fear. Doctor has fear in mind. I am going to do the surgery of the stomach. Out of 100, 1 people will die. Though no person will be ready for the surgery to this doctor, the doctor should have the confidence of 100%. But that depends on the God also. God also. So research is always the blind. You are going to find the unknown things. Unknown things. So it is not the 100% chance. Not the 100% chance. But we try to do the result, make our result more and more sure. Maximum we should try to optimize in the research. So maybe biasness, not impossible. Yes. However, in the data, when you have the taken of data, you can take the reliability of data, validity also. The tools you are applying, the tools are valid or not. Suppose you are applying the tools, the data is the same, and different tools you are applying, and the result may be the different also, maybe the different. But as a researcher, you have to study the tools, what tools you are using, what data you are using, what time period you are using, what variables you are using, what models you are using. I have already told that justification is very important. Justification already told in my lecture. Justification is very important. Then you can minimize the error. You can minimize the error, maybe chance of error. One thing also important, you have cited the view of the previous person, and maybe suppose that your study is based on the survey method, cross-section data. You have given the questionnaire to the person. Maybe the behavior of people change. The same person today filled same question. After 5 hours, give the same question to him. He can give the another answer also. Maybe the chance. So this may be chance, but as a researcher, you have to try the minimize the error. That is the very important. So I'm told now, interpretation is yours. Interpretation is yours. Suppose about the poverty. What is poverty? What is the view of engineer about the poverty? What is the view of doctor about the poverty? A sociologist, economist, a very rich person, a very poor person, what they think about the poverty, it may be different. It may be different, but your own interpretation is important. But you have to write systematically, logically, with justification, and try to minimize the error and try to be honest while writing the thesis. Okay? Okay. So I think
Hello.
yes,
Participants, sir,
yes.
one more question is there in the chat box, sir. Hello, sir. While making literature survey, is it necessary to write in paragraphs or need to make table of findings and limitations in research papers? So there is a question in the chat box, sir. It goes like this. Hello, sir. While making literature survey, is it necessary to write our See, it is written like this. Is it necessary to write in paragraph or need to make table of findings and limitations in research
Yes.
papers? So this is
Generally,
what
we have
is given in the chat box, sir. Yeah.
understand. We read
Yes,
this.
sir. Yes, sir.
So in the literature review, generally they write in the paragraph. Paragraph is good, but in the last of the literature review, you can make a table. You can make a table. In the table, you can give the brief summary of all. Suppose you have included the 60 literature. So paragraph by paragraph, one by one, write. In this, you can give the detailed descriptions. But when you make the table, two-page table, make the two-page table, you can make the brief description. Brief, very brief. That is the brief summary of all the literature. So both are important. So if any person has less time, they can read the table only they can read, but the examiner will read all. Suppose in the literature review you make only table, in the 2 page your literature review will be finished. So it is better write the literature review in the sentence. You will get more opportunity to write more about this literature, and you can include more literature, and then it is better to write the table also. So both are complementary to each other, both are helpful. So try to use both.
Participants, is there? Thank you, sir. Is there any other question?
This time period, within the 1 year, I have evaluated 15 theses. I think 10 theses I have evaluated from India, and now I have also got 4 theses. Some theses are very good. Some
Great, sir.
theses they have written very systematic. They have written the literature review, then the table also they using the brief of the literature. And generally we are seeing that most of the theses are about 200 pages. I have got the thesis from your state, Tamil Nadu also. Just before 4 days, I got the thesis. So the thesis is good. I think that the Indian teachers are making the research scholars more hard work. The research scholars are doing the hard work. They are doing well. And the guide also doing well. The researcher also doing well. And I'm very happy they are using the many tools. To me, the thesis come concerning to the business management, commerce, and economics. 3 subjects I get the thesis evaluate. So they are using the many models, many variables, and they are doing the study about the local area, their district level. They are selecting the topic at the district level. I think that they are from the previous knowledge, they are using their knowledge to solve the local problem. So I'm happy. I'm too happy that candidates are selecting the local topic, local problem, and they are trying to solve this by this research. And I have seen that their variable, time period, models, conclusion, very good. Some thesis very good. So I'm very happy to evaluate this thesis. Some thesis have some problem. Generally, we give the minor modification some so that the candidate cannot face problem. So we try. So I seen that the guide and the scholars both are working good. So I'm happy. Thank you, ma'am.
Right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So participants, the credit goes to English professors and the credit goes to all other professors from India. Thank you, sir. You had given such a great credit to them. Salutations to you, teachers and professors. Sir, thank you very much, sir. And participants, they didn't ask any questions, so I thought we can come to the end of the session. Sir, actually it was informative. We have learned a lot. Within a short period, how should we start a thesis and what are all the things we need to incorporate within a thesis and how we need to go about, how we need to segregate. If you take chapter 2 as a research methodology, chapter 3 as research methodology, and 2 as literature review, inside that 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, like that, how we need to segregate all those things you have just taught at extraordinary ways. Thanks a lot. And some people, they have asked about referencing seriously. We are blessed, sir. So thank you very much, sir. Now let me just welcome assistant professor from the department of EFL, SRM IST, to give a formal vote of thanks to you, sir.
1 minute, ma'am. Always a scope of
I just request.
Some people had written.
I just request.
Always scope. So thesis is
Nadia, ma'am,
all piece of
to give
a vote of thanks.
a vote of
Please,
thanks.
ma'am. No, sir, you are not audible, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Happy noon, honorable gathered here. Gratitude can transform common days into thanksgivings, turn routine jobs into joy, and change ordinary opportunities into blessings. With this quote from William Attawar, on behalf of SRM Institute of Science and Technology and the entire fraternity, it gives me immense pleasure to propose the vote of thanks to our eminent resource person, Professor Manoj Kumar Mishra, who honored this program as resource person and has rendered a glimpse of abundance knowledge, which is extremely relevant on quality thesis writing. Thank you very much, sir, for spending your valuable time with us. Thank you, sir. I also wish to express my gratitude to our director, dean, VP academic, and VP admin for providing encouragement and support. I am delightful to thank our HOD and my colleagues for their unflinching support and coordination. My deep sense of appreciation and thanks to all the participants who chose to be with us and attended the faculty development program with great enthusiasm and made it a successful one. Once again, thank you all for being with us today. Have a wonderful day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you all the
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. So we do expect you, sir, in all our sessions in the future, sir. So we'll have a detailed session, sir, in future. One full day, we would like to invite you, sir, like a training session for our staff. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Can we end the session, sir?
Thank you, sir.
Session, sir.
Also, thank you. So all thank you. Thank you.